Hello. I don't know. Here we are. I guess here we are. Wow. Surprising. I don't know. I I will say probably. Yeah. Puerto Rico or something like. I I don't even know to answer this. I am not even sure myself. What is today the point of talking about? I guess we will see. We will try our best in the team. Talking so much. I guess. Hello. And come on, you. Sometimes side of children care of since to it's, it's some other times like today I feel one can push themselves to what they think it is a need, what they want to do, I guess. So yeah, uh, enough of a reason to be, I will say. Also, I didn't even play the music. I don't even wanna. I We can wait in silence. I guess. We can wait. It, it even fits the vibe. It's nothing if there is music or not. So today, no music. It is even better because there's no chance of getting out of no copyright later on because of a song that gets auto copyrighted sometimes. So yeah, better and an improvement this way, but I don't know. I don't know. It will be hard. Let's see how it goes. I guess it will be necessarily hard to speak. So yeah, continuing with that, I don't truly believe I will make any. So perhaps do not notice whatever I say. Do not take it so seriously. I don't know. At the same time, I will say I try, like always, to make something out of the possibility given to me to speak. So I I believe that it can happen. That amidst so many things spoken about, at least one point will end up being useful. I don't know. I have no faith today in particular. No expectations. I guess that's the proper way to say it. Don't believe that anything will be surprising today. I guess, but that is how did I close a what? That is the point. I also closed it. You can close stuff with middle click. What? I didn't know that. Surprise. Picture me surprise, I guess. But yeah, anyways, hello people. here we are. After after some days, here we are. And yes, uh, sorry for taking 1 second too long. Yeah, yeah, that thing of being irresponsible is harder than what it looks like at first. I will say so. I beg your pardon for taking too much to really get back to him. I wouldn't have truly expected that it was going to be. It isn't even taxing. I don't know. What is it? Complex to be applicated? Something like that. But yeah. Um, Hello, as always. Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. And I don't truly, as I said before, I don't truly know which point are we truly trying to go. I I should have stuff in mind. I should have things. I should have thoughts. Let's say. But yeah. Anyways, before continuing, moving on. Sorry, properly. As always, welcome viewers, workers, welcome bot watchers, welcome everyone. Um, Once again, thanks for being here. And I hope, even if it, even if I personally don't see it as something that will be utterly, I don't know, life changing, wow, um, it can have a minimally useful result, you know? So yeah, welcome. And once again, thanks for this. Ah, yeah, in particular, welcome to Abra, who was fearless. And yeah, I don't know. I guess we can simply start. I believe. I Yeah. I don't know. Uh, as of lately, I have this problem with always not only deciding which things to talk about, but even which one to start with. So um, don't worry so much if it doesn't really make that much sense what I say. In due time, it will become more understandable, I believe. And yeah, anyways, starting with anything at all that isn't just an introduction, moving on onto a real speak. Um, I haven't lately. Okay. Thank you, son. I hope then you can enjoy it, and I hope you have been having a good day. Then. Yeah. uh, yeah. I was starting with. I have been lately thinking, and I remember that I mentioned it last time. This whole idea of um, I heard in a congress that I watched about psychology, something related to uh what's the word in English? Sharer? No, it isn't sharer. Somebody um who tries his best to make those sciences, in this case psychology, known to the rest of the world. Uh, I was watching somebody who was very interested in getting psychology to become a better known, quote unquote, science. Basically, that, for a lack of the proper term. And one thing that he said, and I said before also, is that supposedly we don't have a problem with depression, and we are not reaching epidemic or a crisis of depression or anything like that. And I said before, I hope it's true. And I have realized because I can't ignore thinking about it. I can't leave it at peace, let's say. It didn't make sense at first when I heard it, and it still doesn't make any sense at all. Because once you inspect this idea, this nature of the concept of not having anything like a, a crisis with the amount of sadness that the world itself experiences nowadays. It is that you find yourself in a situation in which you realize how many people are truly experiencing any kind of abandonment of themselves, be it by their own hands or by the complete lack of social interactions with the rest of the world that deprives them out of the proper enjoyment that can be brought to life when one has all of those necessities satisfied. And I was thinking about it and I was trying to believe in that concept. But that is when in my mind one particular idea appeared and one special tab took place into this whole belief, let's say. Because even now, I can't believe it at all. I am completely sure it is something along the lines of a lie. And it makes sense after all, because lies don't need to be only negative, and lies don't need to only negate things in the sense of removing you from experiencing the good things in life, let's say. And they are not words or ideas that should deprive you out of believing in stuff. In this case, it should be that you should not be having hopes of living in a society in which there is no such problem as depression anymore. Or that even nowadays it isn't that much of a big concern to anyone besides psychologists and whatever, because it somehow doesn't happen that we have so many people suffering from. No, it makes sense from there. But the problem is one doesn't become fully aware of what our words truly mean, and one doesn't grasp completely what it encapsulates to say sometimes something that can be so utterly life changing. You never understand almost how important it is to give so much hope to somebody, just to help them crash against the reality and help them deal with the consequences of believing in something so intensely that they truly have in their minds the idea that maybe there is something pleasurable or something in any way better in the reality that they are inhabiting that they can't see because of their, in that case, maybe even negativity somehow. And you're forcing people to grab and to adapt into a world that doesn't truly exist. Because anybody who lives enough and who is out there enough realizes the big majority of the world truly doesn't have moments of happiness consistently enough to classify them as happy people. And even if you believe that doesn't need to be that much of an important thing, when we are making the distinction of there might be a crisis of depression or there might be a crisis of sadness in the actual society in which we live, and there might not be even a problem to talk about here that is only being made up by others. When you don't take that into consideration, you're not only being dishonest with the rest, once again, you're changing your own view for something that doesn't even exist. And I, I understand the idea of this can be somewhat helpful to not be in so much pain. But the reality and what can be understood from being in the world is completely different from a lie that doesn't fully change anything that you can think about. and that doesn't really modify your worldview or your concepts of what is important and what's not. It only gives you false hopes about something that doesn't really apply and that can never be shown to others, because the more you experience being out there, the more you learn about how many people are still. And it sounds weird to say suffering, because nobody wants to accept that they are having problems living their life. Everybody is supposedly an adult. You shouldn't have any particular problem being an adult. And part of being one is being responsible enough about yourself that you don't have to share with anybody else what you are dealing with. That is partially understandable. But on the other hand, a reality of being or becoming a person of that category is that somehow, in the process, at the very least nowadays, you also have to learn to hide a lot of what you truly are, to never show the rest of the people that supposedly care about you, because you don't even let them do it properly, them discover with which things are you truly dealing with and with which things are you not even capable of facing and dealing with once again. It only makes sense that you say, I don't have any particular problem and I don't have any particular any particular bad idea or struggle in my life. If as what is very well known in today's world, to hide and to not even communicate to others what is really going on there, because it is a problem to do so, because it is somehow annoying to share with the world that should be giving you a place to talk about these things. Once again, the experiences that you have are so much more important than what you can sometimes even measure, that not even believing in sharing them is not only hurtful for you, but also hurtful for everyone else that does care about you, because it, it is immensely useless and immensely hurtful to hide what you are trying to deal with and what you are going through, when you realize that others are willing to give you a hand and give you, at the very least, a, as they will say, an ear to hear what you are going through. Once again, it doesn't make sense to, out of nowhere, isolate in a world in which there are so many possibilities to speak with others and there are so many ways to do it. And yet, at the same time, even if you believe that you're doing that, even if you believe that you're having something minimally close to that, resembling that idea of communication, you end up going back to this whole perspective of, but you're only talking about surface things, and you're not even there for when somebody else needs that. We are shielding ourselves from even dealing with any minimal problem that appears. It has become even popular nowadays to hide away from them and to live in a completely isolated world in which any minimal speck of problem can be cast under the rug for the next person that steps on it to notice, instead of dealing with it properly, because somehow it is reasonable enough to not be part of what your problems are, even if they are completely consuming yourself, and even if they're completely disabling you from experiencing life and enjoying what you wish to do. And it, it seems, once again, meaningless to say that, or not meaningless, it seems pointless to say that, wow, there isn't such a problem. We don't live in a society that is consistently struggling against this. We live in a world in which there is no such thing as a crisis of depression, or at the very least, a bad state of mental health. If you don't even want to use the word depression because you think it is too heavy in this case, a society in which we are dealing with the problems born out of not taking enough responsibility for what is the individual that ends up being oneself, or the society in which oneself also resides in. It, it only is a lie that enables even more this self-centered way of living, and it ends up being even more hurtful because you're not giving people the tools that they need to help themselves and to be capable of dealing with these problems. And that is also part of the reason as to why it is so incredibly annoying to hear people like that talk about these things in, in a sense of not only you have somebody trying to tell you, wow, there is no such problem, but also you have, besides this guy, so many people who goes on and on and on about how utterly impossible it is to truly hate somebody else and how unnecessarily annoying it becomes when you try to modify somebody else's behavior because you can't realize how necessary it is for them to go through these experiences by themselves. Oh God, man! And why are you why are you giving up on everybody else besides you? In which world it makes sense, even more if you're talking about mental health, to be so incredibly self-centered that you don't even believe it is possible to give them something to work with. And once again, we're not even talking about realizing yourself and aspiring to have the biggest kind of life possibilities to avoid the miserable life that everybody has to carry nowadays, and to avoid living in the pain that is the present and the society that has so many problems for everyone, as well as the many things that annoy every single one who has to stay conscious every single day. You somehow believe that it truly makes sense to say, wow, you know, nobody but themselves can take care out of their life. What? How can you disregard so many people? Do you not understand that others lack the will to even try to do it? Can't you even see? What is that people when somebody that doesn't even have the will to try something out because they fear trying it is standing nowhere to be seen? What is that people when somebody is so utterly down in their own mood that they are incapable of even making the smallest of the changes in their lives? It makes no sense to say once again there is no such problem as mental a crisis and there is no such negative. What? What are you even talking about? Which world are you seeing? Which society do you live in? With which people are you close with that nobody in your circle has any problem whatsoever? That it makes sense for you to say, no, yeah, we're okay. What? Where are we okay? In which side do you think we're okay? I, do you go out in the street? Do you see the people that exist in your city? Do you are do you even form part of the society that is around you? Do you even realize how many humans are utterly broken nowadays? Can't you be a spectator of that? Can't you feel how much of a distraction everybody harbors inside of them? How much of another sadness is carried by everyone? What? What is the point of, once again, trying to sell a movie that doesn't even exist about a problem that is so incredibly obvious and so utterly visible for everybody that even if you tried your best to hide it, it will make no sense at all to do it because the reality speaks for itself more than enough and it doesn't even need to be justified. It only is lying for the sake of doing it and giving false hopes to everyone because somehow that will fix the world. Lies, once again, because it doesn't need to be that way. Lies can be incredibly useful. Do you understand how meaningful it is to lie to yourself and to believe sometimes that you don't even have any particular limit as a human being? Do, do you have the capacity to portray it in your mind how utterly amazing it becomes to be boundless because of a lie and to be incapable of stopping because you believe that you can achieve every single dream that you possess in your mind? Once you lie to yourself enough to believe that it will happen, because it isn't a lie itself, it is only a hope. And even if you don't have the capacity of seeing it as a hope, and you can only portray it as something that is completely false, it capable of motivating you to doing it, it lets you keep going forward in your life. Such a thing is capable of changing you completely, radically enough so that you can aspire even more than anybody else in this world. Do you not understand the importance of lying? It is necessary to do it. It is incredibly useful when they are worth enough of uttering. But things like saying, no, yeah, we have no problems with mental health. What? Once again, what are you even talking about? Why would you lie about something so obvious? What do we gain from negating the world so much and from saying, no, this problem, this incredibly obvious problem, it doesn't exist anymore. It is made up. Hashtag know you. What? What are you even trying to accomplish by doing that? What do you even gain from saying to somebody that, yeah, everybody around you isn't sad. You may be thinking it. What? It is one of the most horrible feelings to be awake and to realize that so many people, once again, are utterly broken, to work amongst so many destroyed people and so many shattered souls when you realize that you can't even give them even a word to aid with their pain. And you will say that it isn't real. What what are you seeing that you say something like that? And what will anybody believe if they acted upon the world with that belief on their minds? What are you trying to gain by lying so much? And what are you trying to, I mean, what is the benefit of that? I don't seem to make sense out of that one thing. And I haven't, as I said before, I tried to believe for a little bit, but once you exist in the world, once you become part of the rest of the world, instead of simply living in your own tiny bubble, you realize it is a lie, and it is one of the biggest ones that can be sold to anyone, because it is negating every single thing that you can see, and it is trying to reshape the meaning out of everything for the sake of twisting your vision of the world to satisfy something that isn't real. And I can minimally understand that. It is, the delusions are always helpful for the mind in a sense of, I think it is called delusions of grandiose or something like that, help you to aspire to become as big as possible and to attain once again your dreams and such things. They are useful. Okay, the very same thing as hiding the pain that resides in every single human that you find, because you can help so many people in the world supposedly, and believing that there is no such problem will at the very least allow those who feel overwhelmed by this notion to not have so much pain. It is to a certain extent, the same the same type of liberation that comes from understanding and believing that something beyond what is the present, or the present life in terms of, yeah, any kind of hope, even the hope in the future that one can have, is liberating enough, because you believe that every single thing that you're going through nowadays is justified, because to a certain extent it is justified if you can see it properly enough. It makes sense from that optic, but There are different lies that make no positive change to anybody's life when you tell them and when you tell them to others, because you are proposing something fully fake and completely unreal that gives nobody no helpful tool to have and no proper thing to add to their lives and no real pleasure to have. It is only something that you speak about and something that you believe exists for the sake of believing and for the sake of, once again, hiding what brings you so much pain, but it doesn't eliminate that from being a reality. And it doesn't even let you be more free to act, because the moment in which you interact with people, you regain complete or even a deeper sense of notion about this truth that people, the world itself, is dealing with so much more pain than ever. And I mean, to a certain extent, because I have heard about this also, quote unquote, it is justified, quote unquote. It supposedly is justified enough because we are in an era in which we have so many possibilities of advancing in our lives that it makes sense to be constantly struggling against so many old ideas and so many old habits that need to be changed and need to be modified in order to adapt ourselves as humans into an even better society in which everybody can now supposedly truly free truly freely live a life without any pain and suffering, supposedly. Think that has been the wish of so many human souls for, I don't know, thousands of years at this point. But supposedly, once again, this narrative to fit the concept of, yeah, there is a justification to try and believe that we are going to get rid of pain in, in the near future in that way. So, at the very least, changing your optics in that sense will let you not have so many struggles once you live a life free of pain. No, we are not even close to that, and we are not even close to living a life devoid of all these struggles that everybody has. And to tell it off as what it isn't will never be useful and will never give anybody any particular gain besides the momentary pleasure of having a very short lived dream. Once again, the moment in which you interact with anybody at all, you realize that it is fake and that it's not the reality itself. It is only, once again, a lie told to you to keep you minimally, I don't know, hopeful. It doesn't even give you anything to work with. But yeah, the problem itself, once again, ends up being that there is really a problem. And there is really a society in which we are struggling so much. And that is the underlying tone of this whole conversation so far, if it isn't understandable enough by itself. And that is the sadness of realizing how many people are struggling with so many things and how much. And that is also what I hate so much. This whole idea of you can even give up on others because there is too many people who needs help. Maybe maybe there are, let's say, this whole concept of there are 8 billion of human beings alive as of right now. Perfect. There are 8 billions. So with 8 billion human beings, can we really not even help one? How do you know that not helping one is going to motivate that person to do the very same thing? How do you know that if this is done once, why can't it happen twice? Why can't it keep repeating itself on a loop? What is it that you have as a proof to say that your actions matter so little for everyone, that being out there and trying to be minimally helpful in a situation that everybody has to go through, like it is once again, because there isn't even one particular point being discussed here. It is only being alive, the main topic, dealing with the problems of being alive. Wow, nothing particularly topical, nothing specific, something that everybody has to deal with. As long as you are hearing this, it means that you are alive. Thus, it applies to you as a human being. It makes no sense to say no. You know, um, this particular conversation doesn't apply to me. What? But anyways, back to the point. Um, Helping other people. How is it that you will disregard something so utterly simple to do, even I, as meaningless and as useless, if I can only see it as this. If you are feeling yourself incapable of doing anything at all, it makes sense to be so utterly negative about others and also about how you will impact on their lives, because it is the reality that you are once again certainly finding yourself dealing with the struggles of not even knowing if what you can do is in any particular way useful or not, but it is in the actions that you take and it is in the risks that you accept in performing the things that you wish to do that you fully realize if this is the reality or not. You will never find out, only in your mind, if that is real or not. And that is also something that is being lost now somehow. Because once again, there is no such problem as depression, but at the very same time, we have a narrative that justifies never taking action because you don't know how many risks there are in life. And there is no problem with sadness, yet at the same time, we have so many people deciding to not even follow their dreams because they believe they are too high and they believe it will take too much of their life. What is it that enables anybody to say something of that sort when you realize how much people is being impeded from acting nowadays? And once again, this very same thing is what lets anybody become aware of this notion and become aware of how this is something applicable to so many human beings that it makes no sense to say no. No, it doesn't. What? But once again, continuing with the main point, if so many things show that perhaps this is only a mental struggle, the moment in which you take it into the physical realm and the moment in which you are capable of acting upon your wishes and trying to do something useful for anybody, it doesn't even matter who is it. And the best part is, it doesn't even matter if it is somebody else or if it is you, because sometimes you don't even realize how utterly amazing it is to work on what you lack right now. Because what you don't have and what you can create inside of your own life can be also replicated by others the moment in which they realize that you were capable of doing it. But back to the point, to do something for anyone at all of minimal utility instead of being so much in your own mind and being so much in your own world is what ends up reflecting any kind of usefulness. And yet again, we find ourselves saying that no, it isn't necessary and it isn't useful in any way and it isn't in any kind of conception of this idea even a necessity that you should try to have or or a goal that you should aspire to. And that is the best part of this whole idea, because you are basically saying, yeah, you should have no hopes whatsoever. You should have no dreams whatsoever. Because that is the point of every single thing here. How can you do anything at all if you don't even believe in what you're doing? How can you, or how can anybody act upon that? How can any human being be capable of realizing their lives in this world without at first believing on what they are going to do? What is not that there is no point. How is anybody capable of acting without even thinking? It is innate to being alive, the act of thinking and the act of being in, in constant dialogue with your inner self in terms of, yeah, the next action shot that you might take might be completely wrong, and the next thing that you might do might be completely useless, and the next thing that you might try to go for might be completely unnecessary, and the next thing that you might be putting your time towards might never bear any particular useful fruit or any tasteful one, because as a human being, you're incapable of doing that, and the constant dialogue with that inner darker side of your own mind is completely unavoidable. And somehow yet you surrender yourself against that. You're not even in the physical realm dealing with the real problems born out of your own actions and born out of the reality itself. You you're allowing what is happening inside of your mind to stop you, and you're allowing yourself to not even take action because of an idea that is so utterly embedded in being completely negative. What? Why so many people struggling so much like that? Where was this kind of people that try to minimally show them, you know, you can also have aspirations of any kind. We're not even talking about something in particular. I said helping others for the sake of saying something. You can have aspirations of any particular kind, and you can try them, and you can see how they perform in reality. But somehow, no, it is all risky. You don't need to put yourself in so much risk. What do you mean that it doesn't need to be risky? Every single thing is a risk. The moment in which you came to existing, it was incredibly dangerous. You are not even going to see eternal life. It won't happen. It makes no sense to say, no, yeah, you should avoid the path of less risk. What? And the best thing of this is also that you see people who already follow this path, and you can go out on the streets and find every single one who did follow the exact same line that others can now decide to go through. And you see how utterly miserable these people are. Certainly, you would have your minimal needs met by, I don't know, by the government, by your incredibly low paying job, by utterly soul crushing and almost useless positions that are held by people who can't even aspire to rise any higher in the society because they have been crushed so much that they can't even believe they deserve or they are even capable of becoming worthy of deserving in the future something better. And you can be an spectator of them and you can realize already what it feels to have this idea and to have such a lifestyle, yet somehow no, you believe that it will be helpful to disregard yourself so much. And once again, you end up going back to this whole side of not only you're disregarding yourself and not only you're ignoring what are your responsibilities and what is your capacities and every single other thing that is minimally close with you, you're also letting other people know that you don't even wish to strive for anything, and it gets validated. It, it, it isn't a point about, no, yeah, you need to have a group of people that can tell you, wow, you might be having a depressive episode. us, it's okay to not feel alright. No, it is the whole world that accepts people like that, and the whole world that lets humans have no dreams, that let people be dead while they are still alive, and have no reason to keep going. That if they could, they would literally take their own lives, but it isn't possible to do so because it is more of a problem to enact such a thing than to keep going. Because the commodity found in the mediocrity of their existence is enough to justify not taking the final risk of disappearing. And I don't know, it seems incredibly annoying to deal with so many of these notions and to say, wow, they are true. And this is not a problem. This is the correct way to go about life. But once again, what are we even talking about? Let me let me drink some water. Yeah. And I mean, not only it is funny to see that it happens so much, obviously, if it isn't obvious in this case, sorry, it means funny in a sense of it is better to laugh at something so utterly absurd than to feel bad because it can't be even changed that much, no matter how much you cry or laugh. So, trying to avoid the amounts of pain born out of realizing something like this seems quite useful. In this case, I will excuse myself behind and justify it as funny instead of depressing. But yeah, it seems surprising, baffling to see how many people accept this as the nature of reality, and how many people are not even willing to fight for anything at all. And not only that, in a sense of wow, you don't have any hope for anything, but also there is so little people, so few human souls out there willing to even take the risk of saying something minimally good, minimally. I am not even talking about wow. You can have the most impactful speech. Wow, no, no, no. It is simply your kindness, your minimal acts of kindness that can change somebody's life and that can give them what they were needing. That somehow we are even telling them that they are not worth existing. What are we heading towards? What is the goal of having so many self-inflicted problems and not even accepting that they exist? What are we trying to achieve in not facing what is the reality of this world? What is it that we are living for the rest, and what is it that we are doing for ourselves and for our future selves, even when we are not even attending to what happens every single day? Why is it that now it seems weird to say, wow, anybody that you have been doing a good job. You can't say that because it sounds weird. What are you talking about? In which point it becomes weird to encourage somebody to keep going? In which world it seems stupid and weird and incongruent with reality to tell them that they are doing a good job and that they are doing well and that they are putting efforts and that they are at the very least being noticed by somebody. How is it bad to do something like that? And why would you take that as the reality instead of trying to see if that applies or not? Because the best thing is, well, I heard once, one single time, I heard that it was kind of bad to talk with others about these things. Thus, I will never again try to do it. I will never again in my whole life, from this point onwards, try to encourage people to keep going, to do something that they feel satisfied with, to try and have any particular dream, to have any usefulness in this world besides being alive. What? Why will anybody accept that as the nature of this world? And why that anybody isn't somebody that can be pictured in your mind, but rather every single fucking soul. And I don't know. Sorry for swearing. I didn't mean. But yeah, back to it. I don't. I don't get it. I don't. It has been incredibly hard to keep going to a certain extent because of that. It certainly is not only annoying because it takes too much mental energy to ignore something so obvious. It is even discouraging because it goes against every single other thing that tries to happen here. And it does always feel, at the very least, like on the very same line of if you say that there is no problem with depression, the moment in which you go outside and you deal with a handful of people, you realize how wrong you were. Same thing applies to the human spirit and to dreams and aspirations that can be had by anybody. The exact same thing happens that way. The moment in which you see how others with enough motivation can become so much more capable of dealing with their problems and solving the issues that they have and becoming something better or higher or reaching farther than ever before you will have even dreamed of, just because they use that motivation for something useful. It is the moment that you realize it was a lie. But somehow we're not even letting people be out there and interacting with others so much. We have created a narrative once again that tries to put so many people one against each other, and where it needs to always be a constant struggle of, wow, you know, somebody said about you, you know what somebody is trying to do to you, do you understand how much they are going to affect you in this goal that you have? Do you believe what negative plan scheme they have about you? Nobody can even think that much about even themselves. Yet somehow we allow the idea, the fantasy of so many souls are conspiring against my existence. Wow. What? Why is it that we can believe so easily the most absurd of the things? Yet somehow what can be so easily proven true or wrong takes so much effort to perform. When is it that we become or we became less intelligent in that sense? And when is it that we allowed every single dream that anybody could have to be destroyed so much like that? And I don't know, I it feels even not pointless. It isn't the proper word. It's more like annoying to try and discuss something like this because you can feel already. Even when you're hearing it, when you're thinking about what is being said, you can hear how so many people don't even pay attention. Wow, it doesn't apply to me. Wow, it is not my case. And even if it were, I don't have any particular need to apply what is being talked about here. You know what? will you be so utterly miserable? What do you gain from being so incredibly pessimistic about every single aspect of your life? What is it that anybody treasures in being so mediocre and so utterly down that they keep accepting such a narrative? Why is it that we are even enabling people like that to be so important in other people's life in terms of having presidents that are of that kind, we have governors, we have Arabs, we have a lot of human souls that once again enable and enact this very same narrative without even realizing how utterly annoying it is to pay attention to any of those things and to pay a minimal amount of your days and your ideas to anything like that. It is it I don't know. I I do realize and I do accept that it feels it feels minimally good to not be so destroyed. It doesn't seem possible for people to not be in such a place. It seems like the ruling idea lately is, you you can't aspire to anything. You can't even believe that it is possible to have such aspirations because doing so is for childs. What? Since when are we shaming people for believing in their capacities? And why is it acceptable to do something like that? Why is it that out of nowhere, discovering what you truly can or can't do as a human being is bad? And why would anybody in their right mind say, yeah, this seems reasonable enough? I will now stop doing what I have been doing for so long because a complete stranger told me so. What? What are we even considering? That we take so many things so it isn't even seriously with so much importance other than what is really our own work and our own capacities. And I do to a certain extent some parts what makes the whole self. No, I can't comprehend the complete the completeness, the wholeness of that. I can't get the idea of how is it that you can't have any particular dreams, but the composing parts of that in one of the most fundamental ones, having patience. I can comprehend why nobody wants to have patience. It is even disappointing to wait so much for things to take action and go the way you want them to go, and not even waiting for a perfect opportunity. Like wow, maybe tomorrow it will be a better day to start, and maybe tomorrow it will be a better day to keep going, and maybe the next week it will be more useful if I tried something else instead of today, and maybe the next year I will start already with my learning process, or maybe in 10 years I can finally see how my business will begin to work in any particular way, or how my art will gain enough notoriety by itself out of nowhere in, I don't know, 2 decades. Understandable. It is annoying. That is annoying. But it seems we have lost the value of while that happens, you can keep doing everything else. It seems like, wow, You don't need to be patient. Certainly, you don't need to be patient. You don't even have to believe in patience because you can work on as many things as you want and you can burn yourself out as much as you wish to so that you can reach where you want to be as fast as possible. But we don't talk about that because it seems bad to encourage people to take action upon what they desire, even if that desire is completely useful for every single human soul. We once again, we live in a world in which talking about aspiring to anything seems weird, and where if you are dedicating yourself to that, you are strange. What? Why will why will it make sense to believe it? Since when it made sense to believe something like that? And I don't know. I once again, it makes sense. The main point is it makes sense to not have patience. It makes sense, but at the same time, it does make sense not because you don't need it or having it is utterly painful. No, 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 no. It makes sense because you can do so much stuff and you can act on so many ideas that you have about what you wish to accomplish that you can run out of energy before you even run out of quote unquote patience just because you are it is not even waiting what you do. Once you wish for something and once you put yourself to the task of committing to what you wish, you realize things take time. And no matter how fast you work on them, time itself still moves at the pace of 1 second equals 1 second, and 1 minute equals 60 seconds. And you can change the laws of nature to accommodate every single desire that you have to get accomplished even faster. You can only do so much in a given time frame. And even more, if this relies on other people, it certainly will take a lot of time and quote unquote patience. It simply is the passage of time, something that happens, you want it or not. So you can keep doing whatever you wish to, you can keep improving on whatever you are trying to, while time passes away. And while finally, once once and for all, the most important part of this, what you have been wishing for, gets fulfilled because you finally achieved the satisfaction and achieved the not that you achieved in the sense of only you made it possible. Once again, we're talking about time, and time is something that is completely out of our own hands. It simply became time for you to be achieve what you wished. And it simply happened that now it certainly is going to be given to you what you wish and what you have been working for so hard and what you have been having in your mind for so much time. But once again, we accept a narrative that says, no, having patience is bad and believing that cultivating yourself in terms of waiting is negative. But I will not even let people start with the most important thing, one of the main components of anything at all. Life itself is patience. I hate the, the quote because it comes from a place that I don't think it's the best to paraphrase, but certainly this whole idea of you already know that you're going to die. Why is it that you don't just go ahead and end it before it actually ends, as you already know that it will reach an end? It is the same thing as knowing that what you are watching will also reach an end. You know, everything is finite. Yet not because of that we have so much of a rush to end things. Not even that we have a rush in this case. It is the point of you can do things while that point comes. and how much more in the human experience itself. You can enjoy so many things before your expiration date arrives, let's say, but somehow we are enabling this narrative of no, you need to worry and you need to work on anything and you need to aspire towards any place and you need to be someone happy. You don't need any of those things. You can be utterly miserable and you can be utterly depressed because we are going still to keep taking care of you. That's the most wonderful thing of this world. That we have so many people that is depressed who are not even given the tools to work with that. And once again, something that takes too much self-reflection to accept is how utterly painful it is to realize that the biggest problem is these people were not even given the possibility of believing that life can be good, man. What are you? Uh, welcome, Shaik. It has been an incredibly pleasurable thing to see you around lately. I hope you are doing well. Everything is going fine. I say to myself, I don't know. I guess they are fine. Welcome. But yeah, here we are discussing, I guess, stuff. But to the point, sorry. It's no sense whatsoever that these people were not even given a chance of hearing them. They can accomplish anything. It feels utterly depressing to such a world. I don't know. It takes too much patience to accept that. It takes too much honesty to realize also how easy it is to influence. I don't know. I Sometimes the problems that we have don't seem that big. It simply seems that nobody is willing to say they are capable of being so. But yeah, anyways, I think it is quite nice, Jake. Yeah, it has been it has been a very good ride. What you had, I hope it has been a good ride so far. The pin message, I don't even remember what I wrote. It happened basically that I didn't want to talk that much. I don't want to speak. I haven't been having a good time lately in terms of speaking, but at the same time, it is simply the nature of discussing the things that feel the worst, what at the same time makes them good enough. Because to a certain extent, there are problems that happen to anyone, and at the very least, in my case, I don't like to ignore them. So sorry for going back to stuff that is quite dense. Like I don't know how much it has been. Like an hour. I think. I think it has been an hour. Yeah, an hour and a quarter, or so, and it has been only about heavy stuff. So certainly, I would have liked to easier to a certain extent, but I don't know. It would be dishonest to not pay attention to what I have been having so much lately. So yeah, that's the reason. Don't worry, Shake, don't worry. I think, okay, let's say like this. Let Allow me to say that like this. If you truly sucked, nobody would have followed. The simple act of 50 people giving you a chance, of 50 people saying that you are more capable of entertaining them, as well as also more than three people always deciding to watch what you are creating, shows that they are finding something that maybe you yourself can't find in what you are creating, no? Because Not always only the image that we have about our own creation is the important one. Even more in something like this, where we are so much struggling with what we believe, the real usefulness of what we make, you know? And it is basically good. Even if you right now can't see how good it is, the simple act of people already showing you in other ways that it was good should tell you that it is good, even if you don't want to believe it, let's say. And if you don't believe that it is good, at the very least, you have the possibility. Maybe you can make it even better, or you can let it reach a point of greatness, which you feel satisfied with what you are making, because it doesn't need it to be always something bad. That is the point of everything here, that you can have a good time with what you make, you know? But I don't know. I don't know. Hmm? And I don't know. I don't know. I just keep going until you discover what comes next. Make, make, make out of what annoys you so much something pleasurable. Probably that's what I will say. Be there. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, basically that. You got it. So you will, with enough patience given, you will make it through. Don't don't suffer so much unnecessarily. I will say. Maybe it is. Maybe. Sorry if it sounds rude, but maybe it is necessary to suffer a little bit to make it later on less painful. To realize that now you're in an uncomfortable position is to allow your future self to not to deal anymore with side problems, you know? So nice job at the very least on noticing what's wrong. I feel like, but yeah, I don't know. I think that is the adventure that everybody is to a certain extent having. Some talk more about it, some, you know. But yeah, um, not to worry so much. It's completely natural, I would say. But yeah, no, wait, it's just one tiny action of a second. Maybe, yeah. Perhaps enough time given. It will happen, like don't worry. But I guess, yeah, I guess continuing thing before. I seems weird. It does look weird. The optic of how little we are. I believe so. I wouldn't. It sounds strange to say it, you know. It never sounds quite right to say how little we're talking to one another. We live. I have said it like 20 times already. We live in a world in which it is incredibly easy to, to talk with other people. We live in a world in which it is extremely simple to be in contact with others, yet at the same time we're not even there. in terms of connectivity, of human connectivity. We're not even there in terms of showing to others how much of an important thing it is their existence to us. And it is beautiful to have them around. We are not even allowing others to realize how meaningful it is to see them and to live with them. We I don't enjoy this side of, you know, everybody's miserable but in their tiny bubble, and therefore nobody needs to worry, because at the very least you have a contempt with the notion that everybody's doing as bad or even worse as you. What? Why is the narrative to have pain? It is understandable. Once again, this whole idea of this, the word itself is pain, is understandable, but it doesn't need to be cemented in suffering. What do we gain if what we allow is only suffering? What do we gain if what we let out in the world is only suffering? Why is it reasonable to enjoy so much seeing others have problems, and when is it enjoyable really to only talk about the negative aspects of being alive? It is incredibly simple and more and fulfilling to once again try to be close to others. It isn't even, wow, you will reach complete friendship, kinship with other human soul in your next 24 hours. That is not the point here. The point is, it is better, easier, and healthier to be more positive. Yet somehow every single thing aims towards, time to negate what is the possibility of having less of a negative existence in this world, and time to negate the chance of not dealing so much with what is the problem that everybody has to deal with, that is to remain alive until, once again, the expiration day arrives. Why would, why will it be reasonable to say, yeah, this completely twisted narrative, this view in which nobody is capable of living without actually almost hurting somebody else? Mm, Why is it reasonable to do that? Um, yeah, I don't know, man. And one of the best things is also, obviously, it might not be understandable enough. I wish it is understood that I mean it as something sarcastic, quote unquote, wonderful. It really is horrible to see. Why would anybody even enjoy inflicting so much negativity onto others? Not to the point to which, or with the idea of showing them that it is possible to change their ways, with the simple action of doing it, with the simple desire to create pain in so many people's life. And I remember talking about this with a friend. It certainly seems impossible to do so. I don't think it is impossible to find people like that even in nowadays world. Um, it doesn't even take that much to find people like that actually, but the reasons behind them is what is the most surprising thing. And the reason behind all those actions is always, once again, broken people. Why is it that we have so many completely broken human souls? Why is it that I heard once this expression of the human species itself has been lately having an incredibly big problem with accepting that even average human beings, completely normal people, can kill other human beings because it seems unreasonable to do so for them. Therefore, it should be completely unreasonable for every other human being to commit such an action. And I think it is the very same. It seems unreasonable to accept that everybody, to an extent, broken and to an extent affected by negative things because it makes you vulnerable and it doesn't let you have that shield of I am like everyone else. No, no human is like the next one. There might be some similarities, but the soul itself that resides inside of you, the mind that you possess, the ideas that you have every single day, the wishes, the dreams, every single thing that makes you be, is utterly different from any other soul. There is nothing similar in to you. There is nothing that is you but you. It's somehow we can't realize that, and even with the imperfections that make everybody, it seems that we run away from the acceptance of such a notion because it seems weird to accept that you can have problems and still be happy, and you can have negative ideas and negative dreams and negative thoughts, and yet with that keep going forward and keep trying your best in this thing that is being alive. And I don't really get why so many people seem so focused on resecting so much of this nature of the world. What do you gain by saying, no, I have no problem whatsoever in my life? Nobody has no problem in their life. What do you mean that you have no problem? What do you gain by lying? What I understand the bigger problem that is to explain to others what do you go through every single day. But the reality of your actions is not that. I really don't get it. What do you? It is you don't even obtain anything when you. I think I observe what you say, but at the same time, say it like this. It makes no sense to say that you have no problem. What is it that you are benefited with once you rob out the people that cares about you from knowing what you truly experience, and once you even reject even telling to yourself what is happening in your life, because that is also part of talking with other people. You're never only talking to other people. The moment in which you decide to utter words is the moment in which you are becoming aware if what you are talking about is true or not. And if in the moment in which you are saying something false, you should change your approach to those topics because it seems like what you are talking about is certainly false. The same thing applies here. If you are not even willing to share what problems you have, how much do you think they will be lessened because of that? You're not, by rejecting them, making less. By rejecting them, you're not even paying attention to what goes through in your life. And I one of one of the few gains that I can see always is certainly the quote unquote peace gained by not having somebody else mingle with your problems and not dealing with what should be only your burden. Now they also, because and it isn't even weird to have so many quote unquote cognito hazards in nowadays world. So many ideas are utterly depressing and so many notions are utterly annoying to understand the moment in which you grasp them completely. because the loss of hope, because of what you understand, is something that takes a lot of time to heal from. Yet somehow we believe that every single one of our problems represents this very same nature, and not something that truly is problematic, or that can be, at the very least, can be helped with, and that can receive some minimal level of assistance on anybody. And the pragmatic view of not only do I not allow anybody else to help me on this endeavor, but also I neglect anybody who wishes to do so for the sake of showing how superior I am, not only makes it worse on anybody who does this, but also whoever sees you doing these type of actions and whoever is aware of the way in which you're acting. It's also at the same time, because we have this condition of, wow, I shouldn't share what is happening inside of me with others. It is negative. They will never tell you how annoying it becomes for them to realize how little you believe in them. And it isn't even because you don't believe in their importance. It is because sometimes you even overvalue what other people's lives are. And you don't believe that they are capable of being concerned with your problems because their lives are more than busy enough with what they already have. So giving them a share of what you go through seems meaningless now. Reality isn't about only living your best life and living what you wish to. Reality is being there with others and being there for others. But once again, the narrative seems to indicate that somehow we live in a world in which some almost no real connections exist, and everybody's. It doesn't even seem reasonable to say lonely because it applies to so many people. It applies in so many different ways. It is incredibly depressing when you observe how little true social interactions anybody has mm, lately, and when you become aware of how few people are enjoying the world that is around them for the sake of entertaining themselves with something that the problem is not something that doesn't exist. The world itself is something that doesn't exist besides the interpretation that you give it, but something that will never exist. Fantasies themselves that will never be what you will have in real life and what you will have in your daily life. Fantasies about stuff that satisfies no one and that gives no one any real closure on their problems. That type of delusions and that type of distractions is what reigns over everybody's life. And it seems pointless to try and talk about something like that because not only people are not willing to discuss what happens, they get angry the moment you do so because it is like, you know what? A problem? This isn't a problem. Nobody's having a problem. Are you having a problem? What are you indicating when you say that this is problematic? Don't that there is no need to act naive and to ignore anything like this. Also, thank you for being here, Sake. No problem. Enjoy your lurking. It seems utterly disappointing to realize how shielded people are from becoming once again responsible. And that is also part of this whole ordeal of we are not even discussing the necessity of having responsibilities. I keep thinking about it and I keep trying to make it more understandable. This whole notion of the moment in which you become responsible not only by yourself, for yourself, but also for others, is the moment in which you really gain. Not, yeah, the original quote was something like, you gain adulthood. But the reality is something along the lines of the moment in which you see the necessity of doing something like that is the moment in which you can mature out of your self-dumbness. Not because being, being self-dumb is bad. It is the primordial desire that any living being has or needs to have at the very least to keep themselves alive. Self-sustaining doesn't happen if you don't observe how necessary it's for you to keep existing. The same thing is applying here. If you don't let other people get taken care by you, but at the same time, you also don't let other people take care of you by themselves, it makes no sense to expect so many things out of a society that at that point will certainly seem negative and would certainly seem against you. And it is like out of nowhere, and that is what I hate. You're discussing secrets of living. It isn't a secret, it is something that you observe the moment in which you live in one. And it is something that you realize the moment in which you try to be in one. But nobody talks about them. It is like, I don't remember exactly the term. Um, Well-known cigarettes or something like that. Something that isn't really a cigarette, something that is in no way hidden, but that at the same time nobody discusses because it should be something integrated in everybody's life. And I don't know. At the very least, in that sense, at the very, 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 very least, what I do find and what I do realize, all of these things always have a little bit, or not just a little bit. I'll, okay, sorry, let me rephrase. All of these little things point towards the solution or the original problem of what I started this whole discussion with. We live in a society in which there seems to be, or there is always an approaching, impending crisis of mental health. Yes, there are a lot of tiny things that can be corrected that within a given time it is possible to avoid completely such a negative outcome or such a negative reality because paying attention to these tiny aspects is easier than getting lost in the whole sea of the main problem. I feel like, and at the same time, it is even a distraction from the main problem because it isn't so much of a problem itself, it is more like the consequence of inactions born out of a whole world that makes it be. And it doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be something utterly new. It simply needs to become something properly understood that people can act upon the necessity of avoiding it. I believe. I believe. I don't. Also, welcome, Savannah. I hope you are doing good. I know it is late, so I am pretty sure you slept, but I hope you slept. That's what I will say, and I hope you have been having a good day so far. Welcome. Anyways, I don't know. I never consider this thing. Wow, we don't have a problem. I don't know. Like a really the worst position possible. At the same time, it's like we have so many solutions to make everything straight, to say, and get rid of so many actual impediments in the life of everybody that it feels empowering, but at the same time, it means nothing. to understand all of those things only once. It seems even worse to understand so much about the nature of how anybody can attain what they wish for. One self and only one self. When there are in going back to numbers, sorry, I, I, I don't think numbers are great in any way. But going back to numbers, in the 8 billion human beings that are alive, if only one solves his problems or their problems, and quote unquote solves because problems are never ending, if only one does something of that sort, there are still 7,899,999 other human beings who haven't done anything like that. So it is still literally nothing to have solved what are your concerns and what are your biggest flaws as a living being, let's say. And not only it is negative in the side of you do it and everybody else doesn't, but at the same time, because you're the only one who has done this and who has experienced the liberation of your problems, you will have to deal with people who hasn't, and you will have to deal with people who has never even found themselves close to being there. And the methods that you find useful for solving them will even be fully rejected by others because what you talk about and what you think about is in a completely different strata from what other people concern themselves with. But it does look always weird and it does look always unnecessarily annoying to consider all of those things and to be part of the mass that is still so lost in troubles. But it doesn't need to work like that. That is, I believe, the best part of this. It doesn't need to be only negative. I need to sneeze, sorry. It doesn't need to be negative and it doesn't need the bad outcome. That because once again, that is what gets lost in so much of this talk of wow, you can't be happy because other people are not happy. It isn't about that. It's more along the lines of because you can be happy, you can even help people be even happier about themselves and be even more more content with that they are, with those things that they already have, while at the very same time find enjoyment those things that they are aspiring to obtain, because it is necessary for anybody to gain what they don't deserve and what they are not aspiring towards. But it is an obligation for every single human soul to find a reason to keep going as long as they are going to be alive, because it is embedded in the existence of anybody to believe that they can attain something, whichever thing is it that they did believe on. And that is also part of the experience of being here. Not only to say that it is possible, but show others that it is possible. Because it means nothing to only, once again, what I have been saying, I don't know, the past 5 minutes or so. If you are only going to do it yourself, it will be an incredibly lonely path and an incredibly almost meaningless path. And I don't know, it takes too much energy out of anybody to think about stuff in that way because it ends up being weird somehow to discuss and to yeah, and to become aware of how much of an important thing it is to not be so self-centered. When in nature, or what is the word? In in principle, I think it is supposedly. In principle, you should have no struggles in terms of finding satisfaction and finding stuff stuff that feels good, and finding worth things to do, supposedly. But the reality is completely different. And the amount of people who live such a reality is bigger and bigger. And we're not even encouraging people enough to try and believe anything of that sort. And I don't even get what is the point behind. Once again, what I said before already. What do we gain from not even trying to be there for others? What do we gain from rejecting so much? I I don't get it, man. Sometimes it seems quite hopeless. I have to accept that, and I believe, at the very least, once again, as I just said, the completion of oneself is also the completion of others, because in the fulfillment of your own desires, it is an intrinsic nature, the aid to be with other people, but to do so, it needs to take the not it the human that is willing to do this thing should be capable of taking the risk of accepting that they will have to help others and to deal with what their problems are, as at the very same time also understanding not only that their problems are part of them, but also part of what others need to experience to understand better all of this societal thing, let's say. And I don't know. It always seems quite strange when you discuss it, because people seems to be freaked out by the notions and by the comprehensions born out of becoming aware of these problems. It never sits right with anybody to tell them that not only you need to, or not that you need, if you are willing to deal with the problems of others, not only you should be doing that, you should also be ma- mature enough that people take care of you. And it seems, uh, once again, it goes back to this whole notion of incredibly simple. Yet somehow we don't talk about this, and yet somehow we have so many people struggling with this idea. It makes no sense. What is it that we lost the necessity of telling them this? Why is it that we have so many people struggling with this notion? Why why is it the norm that we don't even talk about it? And when was it acceptable to not even try to share such ideas and such notions? I I don't get it. I truly don't find myself close to getting any of those things sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I guess at the very least I can say it wasn't a depressing ending like the last time. So we take the wins that we can. Wow. I will certainly take this conclusion rather than any other thing. I I believe it is a thousand times better this compared to whatever it was the last time we went live. But yeah, I don't know. I truly don't. Anyways, yeah. I guess I will drink water and I will talk about something else that I also thought about. I think it was yesterday. So yeah, and we will see. We will see. Anyways, okay. So this one should be a little bit shorter. I guess I don't know. I don't really know. I was thinking lately, as I said before yesterday, and I was I was once again uh, going back into this whole principle of whoever wishes to understand themselves should be more than capable of judging what they are in terms of properly getting the it is not only the properties, but also every other kind of value that exists inside of themselves in terms of ideas, desire, and any kind of, in this whole talk, or very in line with this talk, aspirations that anybody has. And in the process of doing so, it becomes quite apparent, or it should become quite apparent for anybody, that there are, I don't know if that's the word, there are parts of oneself that one doesn't want to fully acknowledge, let's say. And there are certainly aspects of the human soul that one isn't willing to call upon in terms of letting them be known to the rest of the world because they are too not that they themselves are, they create too much shame in the person to be fully accepted. And if this process is quite annoying, the result of doing so ends up always being a realization towards comprehending even better what it what is it that one is, because the problem ends up being one, and yeah, it sounds incredibly complex, sorry. One believes that one understands what one is in terms of a soul and of a human being, let's say. But it doesn't really happen that you become fully aware of what you yourself are until you properly contemplate on the nature of what makes you be. And so many times it happens also, as I was trying to say in this case, that the analysis of your own self is quite revealing over the nature of what you try to be. And it doesn't even happen over a long enough period of time that this gets shared. That instead of those hidden notions, let's say, there are a lot or quite a lot of other parts conforming your own self that can also be either integrated or at the very least by being healed, understood, and properly removed. And it becomes weird once again in this whole nature of weirdness and such, it becomes weird to see that we don't talk about it enough because it's quite liberating to understand some underlying motives that you yourself didn't even knew you had over actions that you performed even on a daily basis sometimes because they are, as a matter of fact, truly different from what you had been thinking or you believed you thought they were before. And it is in line with this whole idea of trying to, let's say, reach a, a point of less problems and such, and not have to deal with so many negative sides to this whole story of being alive, you know? And once again, it doesn't get talked about enough. It doesn't even get mentioned enough. Uh, I don't know. I do believe it doesn't take that much time. The only problem is also certainly the honesty with which you need to engage in such an activity becomes yeah, quite impossible to achieve by yourself sometimes. Not because it truly is impossible to reach, but rather because the honesty needed to accept what you are in an environment in which you can fully reveal, let's say, to others what, once again, what is it that composes? Well, it doesn't need to be to others. Once again, sorry, it needs to be only to yourself. But the act of doing so feels already shameful enough that sometimes you are not willing to do it, even in the complete loneliness of your, I don't know, your most intimate space. And I believe, even if it is of such a nature, the performance of such an activity ends up liberating oneself more than the pain felt or the shame felt from that. And I mean, that is yeah, that is a different topic that I didn't even brought up. But okay, before switching topic, let me drink some water. I have found something I forgot to talk about here. We have a lot of long one. Excuse me. Give me a second. I want to start this properly. I can't even find the original quote. I I can. It was something I I don't remember who said it. Uh, I literally who said it, so that's quite a problem. But I know someone said something along the lines of hell is insane, basically. And I wanted to start with that because I haven't. That is one of the things I haven't written out, and it has been quite. I don't know. I might be overusing the word, perhaps. I don't wish to do that, but at the very same time, let me say like this so that I have an excuse. the things that I do describe as painful, when I certainly describe them in the way in which I do right now, as in something that can get a properly detailed description, is something that I truly find or have found on its moment painful, even if right now it doesn't feel like that. There is certainly a layer of um, distance from what I am talking about when I decide to go on about the topic itself. It doesn't mean that I didn't really find them annoying. It is just rather that yeah, I, I, I might even go and ahead and say I just ignore what was partially the pain itself of that, because it doesn't really feel that good. But once again, now for real, starting, I guess, it feels painful to understand or to become aware of such a thing, because the moment in which you truly try to apply the logic of hell is pain, and inside of the pain, hell is shame, once you realize how much of a limitation it imposes on everybody, the level of shame that we feel about things that we do and things that we don't, it slowly takes more and more of an increasingly, yeah, bigger role. The display of, I believe so, the display of emotions and the display of abstractions that we end up. I wish to believe self imposed limits. I don't know if every single one of them is self imposed. I can't even accept that quite a handful of them are even on the other type of category due to the upbringing we possess and the amount of socializing we've already gone through, that certainly tells people doing some things is bad or not. But going back to this point, be it whatever motive behind it that it is, the amount of shame felt behind the actions of so many people is so much of a limiting factor that we are. It doesn't sound right to say it, but it feels bad to realize how much of a limitation humans have right now when it comes to shame. Not because it is bad to be ashamed. Obviously, it is one of the best things that you will even have is the limitations imposed by understanding the amount of shamefulness that can one of your actions, how would I say it, inflict on somebody else. That I can understand, okay? I can understand that one side. But what I don't get, I don't like is we live in a society in which it is not even talk about the amount of shame that you feel about some things that comes from a completely outer place and a completely almost wrong space. Because I kind of mentioned that before. It is even shameful sometimes to talk with other people about what happens to you. And it is even shameful to try and share with others what is it that you are going through. When in reality, it is part of the human experience itself to be capable of expressing your problems and to be capable of telling others what you're really going through. Because it is in the bondage out of comprehending and being capable of sympathizing with others and with their situations that you gain not not simply their trust, but rather the proper grasp of an image with who you are dealing with. Yet somehow, once again, we don't even mention how bad it is to let that shame always exist and always dominate the lives of so many people, and how much of a limitation it ends up becoming for so many souls and so much, yes, so many things, not just people, so many things, so many aspects. It goes back to this whole idea of, you can also try to help people. Do you know how shameful it feels to try and help somebody else? Out of nowhere, it became at some point oh, a completely strange idea to tell others that they should try to help, because it now was imposed on us that it is shameful, but that you shouldn't feel good in doing that. Since when are we being controlled so much by something so utterly meaningless in that sense? Because it isn't even proper shame for overdoing your part, helping too much somebody that you rob them out of the possibility of living their lives just because you want them to live the life that you want them to live, let's say. But it never gets taken off how much it dominates every single aspect, and how much it even stops you from going ahead and doing what even you yourself wish for your own existence also. Because it isn't only, if it was only and simply about others, it will be a little bit. Socializing still is an incredibly complex act and something that a lot of people struggle with, and something that needs no discussion in terms of why it is so utterly annoying for people to deal with. Therefore, the shame ends up being quite a necessary factor for so many others to justify their incapacities in society and in socializing. Okay, that I get. But the side of being ashamed of doing things for yourself, being ashamed of taking more responsibility for your own actions, being capable of accepting what your problems are, being capable of properly observing and taking an interest on fixing what is wrong with your existence and similar. Is it really bad to do it? And is it really illogical to try and deal with those problems? Since when or why is it that we will allow something so transgressive to take part of the daily existence of so many people? I haven't understood that part yet, and I haven't found somebody who has explained properly that. Or at the very least, not that it needs an explanation, it needs a justification, a proper one. That is what I believe it needs. Because getting rid of shame is what lets you take so much of a flight in terms of becoming more capable of aspiring towards reaching the places that you wish to be in, and being capable of observing and trying to go towards the goals that you at some point said were worth pursuing. We don't we don't even mention those things, and we don't even go ahead and talk about all of those parts and all of those sides of being alive. We assume that they are completely easy to deal with, and we assume that nobody has any struggle with. But once again, shame holds so many people back. It doesn't even feel funny. It doesn't even feel simple. I don't know. I guess once again, back to the point. Shamefulness necessary to a certain extent. Maybe trying to learn how to not be so affected by something so mental, maybe perhaps, will be useful. But I don't know. It seems, once again, it seems weird that we don't address such things as what they truly are, problems, not tools anymore. I would accept even that at some point the shame that you feel throughout your daily life was completely useful for survival. But in nowadays world, the shame that you feel throughout your daily life is more of a limiting than anything. I get, and I don't know, I don't know, I really. But anyways, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it never stops being weird to consider because that is the best part of this. The other side, as one will say, no, the aspect in which you accept that okay, I have a certain degree of shame instead of the actions that I perform and because of the goals that I have on my life. Understandable. But what if I really believed more what I can reach to? What if I decided to become more capable of going for the things that I wish to obtain without being so hindered by this sense of shame and this degree of, it isn't even sadness, it is completely distractful hindrance that it holds me back from doing anything. And once again, once again, this realization doesn't come out of nowhere. And if you don't observe others, you will never see it as what it truly is. A tool, or not having shame, a tool towards growth. It seems unnecessarily devoid of meaning to not accept that you can get rid even of your shame, because it is in observing how so many people has already achieved where they are and how they were capable of getting to the places which they ended up being in by pure shamelessness, and not in a sense of wow, they are so shameless, they are so, it hurts so much to watch them, it is incredible. No, 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 because one of the most wonderful things of shame is there is even shame in believing in yourself nowadays. There is even shame in believing that you can reach a place of an even better situation. There is shame in that now. There is shame in a lot of things that happen throughout life. And it seems reasonable to not even speak about them and to not even address this type of shame because the rest is justified. Thus, this also should be justified. No, it isn't justified. It will never be justified. When, when, when you talk about such things and when you observe how much of a limiting factor it becomes on you and how much of a disposable thing it ends up being for real, it is then that you gain the capacity, I believe so, of to some degree or another, not having any more to be fully constrained by limits imposed by something that you don't even comprehend because shame doesn't even come from a side of wow, I am aware that doing this is bad. No, it is I will feel bad because I decided to believe in me. Why do you feel bad? Because you decided to have faith in what you are doing? There is no reasonable explanation. It just feels bad. What? Once again, back to this whole ordeal of why are we ashamed of so many useful things? And why is it so much the norm to not even discuss these things, to not even address their nature? It is like out of nowhere, everybody needs almost to feel that way and needs to have imposed on them those incredibly negative stopping points, and they can't even believe what can be better, or they can't even believe what could be better, because it seems meaningless to do so once you let shame take a hold of you. And I mean, I don't know, man. Going back to this whole discussion, because I said something that I remember I also wanted to talk about. Shame, I feel like, holds you in a state of not even thinking what could be better in your life based on what you already have around. Shame doesn't let you realize what can be made good because you accepted the possibility of those things being good, or being able of reaching a state of goodness at the very least. And shame is ultimately, for the modern human being, one of the most limiting factors. Once again, it seems, not that it seems, you experience that. Everybody experiences that. When you're talking with other people, it feels weird sometimes to say something truly meaning. There is a sense of shame in having conversations about things that you really care about. There is a sense of shame in telling others how much you care about what they are doing. There is shame behind every interaction and every word that you utter. There is shame behind what you think and what you do and what you don't do. And it it stopped being useful quite a long time ago, when it took so much control over the life of every single one. But we still don't even feel, let's say, ashamed of feeling ashamed. We still let that happen every single day, and we don't even try to change it because it seems unnecessary to do so. And I don't know. I, it tires the mind out to consider how much things could be better, because it is one of those tiny changes that might as well be incredibly impactful. But in this case, I guess, it sadly is one of the most do as I say, not as I do, because certainly I am utterly stunned by shame also. It is simply a consideration about something that happens, not something that I have been. I mean, I had been working, but I am not fully rid of, no? So I am no example of that, basically. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know. I guess, okay. I, I, I don't like it, but that is part of having multiple discussions, trying to tie them all up. Because to a certain extent, it was multiple times mentioned today how it is impossible to really have meaningful social connections with others. And I do believe in this sense, the shame felt by being open about your, it is not about just emotions. If it was just about emotions, it would be so easy. It would be so utterly easy. But sometimes it is simply sending a message and saying hi to others that feels shameful. And that seems impossible to do. And that seems like the biggest risk to take if you think about doing something like that. It isn't about being ashamed of every single part of yourself. It is about wishing and believing and trying to do worth things and something that does feel useful for others, not full or devoid of shame. It doesn't need to be so much the central point. It, it is impeding so many of our actions and so many parts of our lives lately. I feel like, and I don't know. It might be possible to have better social relationships the moment in which you accept the very least the very nature of shame as what it truly is, something that simply is there to remind you of what could have been problematic before. But it gets lost in this whole narrative. How more important it is to develop a proper sense of understanding about cues, communication, and similar things. How much better it is to be aware about what is going on in conversations that you have and discussions that you go through with others and similar things. Shame is not a proper tool towards stopping the problems that you feel. It is simply a reminder that you can take better action and be more mindful and, let's say, conscious about the way in which you interact with others. Shame is simply the reminder born out of, I believe, your unconscious mind. Let's say it like that, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't always feel like it is the biggest problem. It simply exists there, and it simply is something that, with enough given time, one gets rid of. Well, yeah, to a certain extent, at the very least, I remember that. That is something that I do have in my mind. And supposedly, the quote unquote, the older, as in, the more mature you become, the more shameless you become, the more capable of losing that sense of shame you are. Because it is only through noticing the limitations that it imposes on you that you slowly get rid of such a thing. If it was something less annoying, it might be a bigger possibility for everybody to not be so attached to such a thing, certainly. But in the younger ages of anybody, the levels of shame that you feel do drive you around and do give you guidance towards being not so lost and not so full of po- yeah, possible problems that might happen due to wrong actions in the wrong sense. It is the social reminder or not your mind to tell you that something is bad, even if you can't actually remember that, and even if you can't truly bring up to your memory why is that bad. But I don't know. Once again, we don't even mention shame long enough as the real problem that it is. And it feels weird to have that happen, but I don't know. Anyways, I guess that's Alvin. Hello, Alvin. I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Very welcome, Alvin. I hope you were having, you are having, and you have a good day. Here we are, just talking, I guess, for the past, how much? 2 hours. Yeah, welcome. I guess, uh, here we are. I don't know. Quick rundown of what has been talked about. A lot of stuff. That's what I can say. Uh, no, sorry. Properly, it was probably something along the lines of, uh, as always, depression, anxiety. What was the other thing? We talk about like three or four stuff. I don't remember. We talk about a lot of stuff, but yeah. The point is, right now I just finished with with the last one that was anxiety. I guess I don't know. Yeah, certainly sometimes I like to cut myself off. I don't enjoy delving too much. I don't. Yeah, I feel that certainly that I because they get overly annoying to think about for other people. Even I myself have a hard time following, so that's why I decided to tone it down. Yeah, perhaps it's quite insulting if you hear that. Yes, certainly, as somebody who wishes to, let's say, communicate better, it feels it feels bad from the side of the one that is consuming it. Also, you know, no, maybe you won't understand them. I don't think I use that much of a complicated language, and I try to not to make it complicated. But yes, it happens. Sorry. Same. Probably the best word to fit in this description. Shame. Eh, very, very probably. How how the loop closes upon itself, I guess. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, I guess I will take a tiny break because idle break. Yeah, say like that. No, no, no more details. We don't need details. Thank you. Let me take like 1 minute. Coming aside. I'll be back in like I don't know 1 minute, 30, 40, 80 seconds. So goodbye. Hello, I'm back. I like it because I never had any particular sound. It is completely devoid of every single sound. Is be right back screen. I At some point it will happen that I will add some sound. Maybe I don't think so, but maybe. I mean, it also is kind of problematic because if I add song, I will hear the song, so I will be overextending my live. Maybe. But anyways, the point is, we're in the right now in the middle of a break because I wanted to say something. I had no opportunity of saying it with, and I had been reminded about it enough times by myself. So let me say that right now. Yeah, probably even shame. That is yet another case of shame. it is. I love limitations. I love being able of properly expressing myself. So, anyways, the point is this, people. Uh, discounter. Why? What? Why? Why? Ah, because it is going up or why? It is literally not a bad. Anyways, it was literally about you, son. So there we go. Thank you. Please, people. I know I forget to talk about stuff, but if you could please follow son, I will be very thankful. Very nice guy. Thank you very much. Basically, yeah. I don't know. Please, I beg you. I beg you on my knees. Please, support people. People need support. Support them. Thank you. It feels nice when Potters, you know. So yeah. No worries. Love you, brother. Anyways, also because I am in the middle of playing stuff, and I also hate to do it, but it is necessary. It seems because I don't know. Is it really necessary? I don't understand the nature of needing to talk about that stuff, but I think it is like this. Yeah, we have a Discord. I don't know if it is really necessary to remember. There is already a bot that says Discord like every other hour or so. I think I don't know how necessary it is for me to say it, but yeah, there is a Discord also if you want to join. And um, there are YouTube where I upload stuff. Anyways, back into regularity. Stuff with the advertisement. I hate advertisement. So, anyways, we're back. No more stuff. Thank you. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Moving on to something different, I guess. Uh, I haven't thinking, and I haven't quite enjoying the act of being alive lately. I guess it is quite wonderful to be alive. Let's start with that. It becomes incredible, amazing, and it becomes incredible, enjoyable to become better things. And that is also partially something that I was, because it is the gratefulness that we don't have about the things that we go through that end up limiting us in a lot of different ways. Not because they truly are limiting, but rather because they are notions that we hold ourselves back from feeling. And we hold. Uh, now, okay. Now I remember why did I want to bring this up and why I also wrote shame before. Because it is something incredibly hard to do, but at the very same time, I feel like liberating for most people, at the very least, that there is something inside of the act of gratefulness that is not truly talked about, and that is as as humans we yearn for a lot of things, and we have a lot of wishes, we have a lot of desires, and it is always possible to start with the biggest type of desire that you wish to have, or to start with the tiniest one that you believe you need to fulfill. And it is in the proper assessment of and observation of your own interest that you end up finding out how many of those desires that you didn't believe you had fulfilled before. Now you understand you have really satisfied already, or you can, at the very least, always satisfy if it is based on others thing, which even rarely happens. In terms of, and I don't, Yeah, I think I need an example here. I was I couldn't picture it until I got the proper example. It was something along the lines of I believed I wasn't properly being observed until I noticed how many people, and I was on that same line. I was also interested, yearning the for having basically that, for having eyes on me, one would say. And I was under that impression until I finally accepted that, or I, once again, I observed in reality how many people and how many friends do I have around me that are always willing to eat there. And in the very same line, I was also even believing to some extent how lonely I was until I noticed that it will take literally one message from me to get a lot of people interested in being there. And the same thing happens with a lot of other areas. I remember I was even feeling like I wouldn't, I didn't believe I had somebody who truly cared for me to a certain extent. But it is in losing sight of out of family that I became a believer of such an idea, but it is in going back to these things that I ended up truly understanding what it means. Because it isn't simply being grateful for the sake of being grateful. That is the problem of why so many times talking about gratefulness brings nothing. Because a lot of people can't be grateful for simply having stuff. It is the same as when you try to compare your situation to that which other people go through. It makes literally no sense to do that. Or it gives you nothing at all to do that. Because even if the situations are worse, they are not living your life and you're not living their lives also. It makes no change whatsoever to try and apply that much what others are experiencing. But it is in the act of observing which things do you really wish and which things do you really believe you lack. Then later on, properly assessing your life, that you find out if you truly lack them or not. Because it somehow becomes like an unconscious blindness that exists over those things, what ends up leading towards not realizing how incredibly well one is and how satisfied one could feel with the things that one already has based on the awareness of them instead of simply wanting more and more. It is like that is a pretty well known concept that you always, or not that you always, a more primal human being always moves on a very basic degree of instincts and such, in where you go from satisfying one need to the other in a very spontaneous and instantaneous also manner. But the act of possessing the capacity of thinking and the enabling that exists behind being capable of positioning yourself inside of the desires that you have while also observing those fulfillments that already exist in your life is what gives you a way towards noticing how much of a satisfaction of those conditions already happens, not because they are satisfied in a similar way, but rather because they are fully and already completely fulfilled by things that you, not that you decided to ignore, that you became incapable of noticing somehow. And that is the puzzling part for me because it makes no sense to talk about so much observing yourself and similar things when it should be so apparent to everybody. I guess that might well, yeah, that might very well be the nature of having problems and similar things, that suddenly in life you believe too many things that are only negative. The very same thing as with shame and similar, no? You focus too much on what is everything else, but you lose sight of what ends up being truly important and what ends up really giving you a proper meaning, no? And a proper satisfaction and a proper fulfillment behind the actions that you take. But I don't know. I guess at the very least that is a solution. I don't have the answer as to why this problem arises, but there is a solution for that. The very least in this case. I guess I don't need to have the cake. I need it too in this case. I can live. Just know how to deal with the problem. I don't need the the root of the cause or something like that. Just just a tool to not be so lost in the annoyance of hiding so many stuff, you know? Nothing better than that. Than to see how many good things one already has. And I mean, I don't know. I think there is also certainly a degree of hidden message there. You never know if some people don't have nothing at all, and you don't know if there is people who can't even find the minimal degree of satisfaction. So that is, it feels like that should be capable of satisfying another kind of another degree of happiness. Because it isn't, once again, it isn't in comparing yourself with somebody who's doing worse that you feel good. It is noticing how well you are sometimes even compared to your old self, that you obtain the notion of finally, I am in a good place, and I am in an incredibly better place, and I have the things that I wished for before, and I have reached the land that I promised myself I was going to be in one day. And even if it didn't happen, at the very least, what exists along the way is I am still surviving this and I am still going forward, making sure that at some point I will reach there because it means that I am trying still. The matter of fact that I remain, that I am still capable of surviving whatever is happening right now, because that is what brings fulfillment, you know? But I don't know. I don't know. There might be a certain degree of yeah, I remember. I heard a quote. There is a difference between gratitude and contempt. Certainly, it doesn't mean that you should be content with what you already have. If it is possible, one should always aspire towards having more. Certainly in a non-tonistic way, but that is kind of a different topic, I guess. So yeah. Anyways, that is what I knew I was forgetting to talk about. Crazy ride. What an incredibly great experience today. Uh, Also, what just happened? I don't wanna check. Anyways, I guess I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. Too much, too much speaking. You eating, I guess. So I will read my cave another day. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't want to say it because I know I might fail. But also saying it, other people hold myself accountable. So I will try to stream tomorrow. I will. I mean, I will try. As in, I will probably on sleep early for the sake of it. So yeah, I wouldn't say count on that, but at the same time, please try to happen. Even if I don't know, just bless myself. Anyways, I will, I will leave now. Basically, yeah. No more to add. Thank you for being here. But I have nothing else to really say so far. I haven't simply overextending it and make simple announcement over that. Thank you. Um, Goodbye, people. I guess I will, as always, raise someone. No, raise someone up. My really is still up. What? What? Very? Sorry. It how annoying it must be to out of nowhere hear like 7 times in a row the same word. Anyways, but not only Beryl is alive, so I already read Beryl once. Let me change target, please. Thank you. Yeah, I think I have one. So, anyways, people, as always, this is it. I don't have anything else to say. I don't have anything else to add so far. Probably I don't the fuck. I don't even know if I will be alive tomorrow. But the case of me surviving, I will try tomorrow to stream a little bit of reading. So yeah, that's it. And also, sorry, I wasn't a shot. I will see you tomorrow. If I do stream, I will try. I don't make because I feel bad when I break them. So yeah. Anyways, the point is that I will try to be here. uh, but wait. Calm down. We have still to make slash raid and none of that. Okay. So anyways, people. Yeah. Uh, so, as always, thanks for being here, thanks for watching, thanks for lurking. It has been a pleasure. Thanks for everything. Please keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, keep yourself centered. Do the things that you need to do. Hydrate if you need to, sleep if you need to, do whatever you need. And yeah, until the next time. And if not, at the very least, we did something to it. I don't know what, but we talked quite a lot. So, yeah. Goodbye, people. Thanks for all. Until next one. And if not, at the very least, we were happy. So, yes, remember that. Be happy. That is everything that matters. But now, more pressing matter, a moment, the now, exactly the present, we are reading. We are living into Sergio, I guess. My bad. We are reading into Sergio, who is playing Elden Ring. Wow. Goodbye, people. No more questions asked until whenever. Sergio? 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 What?